Shooting on the main campus of the University of Nevada in America's Las Vegas leaves at least 3 people dead before bloodshed ends with the suspect's own death.
There is an active shooter on the campus as well.
Manchester United ease pressure on manager Erik ten Hag as Scott McTominay double helps the Red Devils defeat Chelsea 2-1 in the Premier League.
The fully deserved win for Erik ten Hag's men as well. Scott McTominay doing the business with the 2 goals to give us the full-time score. Manchester United still going Palmer.
And starting with the latest in the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. Israel now says that it is now in the 3rd phase of ground operations in Gaza.
Well, it has once again stressed that demilitarization is the top priority at the moment.
Our 3 principles for the day after Hamas, again, we wish it were next week, but those 3 principles are the total demilitarization of the Gaza Strip, de-radicalization and reconstruction. So demilitarization is a top priority.
Well, Israel says that its military has broken through defensive lines in northern Gaza's Jabalia and Shijaya. This as Israeli forces are engaging militants in face-to-face combat in southern Gaza's Khan Yunis. Earlier, the IDF had said that they are operating in the heart of these areas. Take a listen.
בג'באליה סג'איה ומרחב ח'אן יונס פרצנו את קווי ההגנה. המחבלים עכשיו יוצאים מתת הקרקע ונלחמים נגד כוחותינו, וכוחותינו בקרבות פנים אל פנים מנצחים עם ידם על העליונה.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that the country's military is encircling the house of top Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, who is hiding in Khan Yunis.
שני עדכונים קצרים. אמש אמרתי שכוחותינו יכולים להגיע לכל מקום ברצועת עזה. עכשיו הם מקטרים את ביתו של סינואר. אז ביתו איננו מבצרו, הוא יכול לברוח, אבל זה רק שאלה של זמן עד שנשיג אותו. דבר שני, אנחנו מפעילים לחצים כדי לאפשר את ביקורי הצלב האדום אצל חטופינו. ובהמשך לכך, שוחחתי היום שוב עם נשיאת הצלב האדום, ואמרתי לה שתפנה לקטר, שהוכח שיש להם מנוף לחץ על חמאס, ותדרוש ביקורים של הצלב האדום אצל חטופינו, וכמובן אספקת תרופות עבורם.
On the other hand, Israeli strikes continue to pound southern Gaza. In the last 24 hours, heavy bombings has taken place in Rafah, where at least 9 Palestinians have been killed and several others injured.
Dead and wounded were seen being pulled from the rubble in the harrowing scenes that unfolded in the aftermath. Many Palestinians have been fleeing to Rafah for safety, but now they fear there is no place safe anymore.
Well, the Israeli military also released footage to show forces operating in Khan Yunis, Gaza's second largest city that we're talking about here. And the IDF said that the troops raided a Hamas battalion outpost and began targeted raids in the heart of the city.
On the other hand, Hamas has released footage to show attacks on Israeli forces in Gaza. The footage appears to show fighters using rocket-propelled grenades to attack armored vehicles.
Islamic resistance movement has also said that they attacked Israeli posts near the Lebanese border The video provided by the Islamic Resistance showed a vehicle exploding and several explosions near the alleged Israeli installations.
Yemen's Houthi rebels have also said that they launched several ballistic missiles at Israel. On Wednesday, the US Navy shot down a drone that originated from a part of Yemen controlled by the Houthi group, as per US defense officials. It is the 6th time that the US Navy has fired upon drones in the southern Red Sea since the war broke out.
In other updates, UN has voiced deep concern over allegations of sexual violence by Hamas militants during an October 7th attack and has called on Israel to allow his team in to investigate the said allegations.
In Tel Aviv, the producers of the Israeli music festival, which was targeted by Hamas militants on the 7th of October, recreated the venue in memory of the hundreds that were killed that day. Haunting exhibition revealed the devastation left behind by Hamas in the wake of the Nova Festival massacre. Relatives of the victims were present in the exhibition hall, along with Israeli President Isaac Herzog.
I was outside because
משפחות שכולות, אהובות, יקרות. מיכל ואני סיירנו מקודם לבד במיצג המרגש הזה. ראינו את הפריטים, נגענו בהם.
Now, the Israeli media has published reports that suggest that the IDF not only knew about Hamas' attack on the Supernova Music Festival, but also held emergency meetings for it.
However, they chose to not inform the festival organizers in advance, and the dismissed information proved fatal for about 360 partygoers just hours later, while an additional 40 were also taken hostage at the event.
Israeli media reported on an investigation that claims 2 emergency meetings were held late night on the 6th of October. Israeli spies and military commanders sat down first at midnight and then at 3 a.m. to discuss an imminent assault. The attendees concluded that Hamas was only carrying out a training exercise.
The Israeli forces are now being accused of withholding the information. The music festival was organized in close cooperation with the IDF, and the IDF permit read, and I'm quoting here, "The Northern Brigade is responsible for regional security during the event in the fenced space across from the Gaza Strip," unquote.
The organizers of the festival said that they would have been able to save the bloodshed had they been informed even an hour in advance. The warnings received by the IDF were only reflected in a feeble preventative measure. But a clear sign of pre-hand information being available, an IDF unit known as Team Tequila, specialized in preventing abductions, which was deployed at Nahal Oz. The area is barely 20 minutes from the music festival site in Reem. Israeli troops were also ordered to increase surveillance at the Gaza border, while 2 commando teams were alerted about a possible incursion. Now, these are not the first media reports suggesting that IDF had pre-hand information about the deadly attack. A recent investigative piece by American media outlets claimed that the IDF knew about the attack, not days, but a whole year ago. The report was based on documents, emails and interviews obtained during investigation. A document codenamed Jericho Wall by the Israeli authorities outlined in detail exactly the kind of devastation caused by Hamas on the 7th of October across Israel. Well, the Israeli onslaught on Gaza continues. After northern Gaza, it has now shifted to southern Gaza, leaving very little space for Gazans to go. Healthcare facilities have also been targeted. Reisha gets you all the details.
Right, Shivan. Now, the Israeli forces, they continue to battle Hamas militants across Gaza, and they're now expanding their ground offensive to Gaza's second largest city, further shrinking the area where Palestinians can seek safety. But since the 7th of October, the number of health facilities being impacted and hampered across the Palestinian regions, that have been increasing. And today, I'm going to walk you through how at the time of war, access to healthcare centers and facilities are being hampered by the Israeli forces. Well, according to the latest World Health Organization report, the healthcare facilities in Gaza have faced more than 212 facilities, healthcare facilities, have been attacked since October 7th. That's the number given out by the World Health Organization, wherein some 565 people have been killed, with 732 people said to be injured in the attacks on the health facilities. And these numbers are by the World Health Organization. While 56 health centers have been affected in these attacks, which includes 25 hospitals that have been damaged, and 59 ambulances are affected, with 35 of them being damaged as well. Now, let's show you the map of the besieged strip, which comprises North Gaza, Deir al-Balah, Khan Yunis and Rafah. Now, while on the map, the numbers here, they signify the number of incidents of attacks on the health centers in the strip. And here are the numbers on the screens. North Gaza, 48 health centers have been affected, while in Gaza, 128, Deir al-Balah, 8, Khan Yunis, 15, and Rafah, 6. These are the health centers that have been affected in the ongoing war. Now, it's not just Gaza where the health facilities have been affected. With the world's eyes on the besieged strip, Palestinians now have a different kind of war which has taken place in the West Bank. Attacks are on the rise in the region, which faces its own kind of war. Let's tell you more about this. Well, according to the latest World Health Organization report, the healthcare facilities in the West Bank, that has also been hampered. And the numbers are here. More than 230 Israeli attacks have taken place since the October 7th attack. While in these attacks, around 6 people have been killed and 40 people have been injured, with some 20 health centers also being affected in these attacks, along with some 178 ambulances being affected in the attacks. Now, on the map that you can see here is the West Bank, comprises Jenin, Tubas, Nablus, Bethlehem, Hebron, Jerusalem, Ramallah, and Tulkram. And the numbers here again signify the number of attacks which have taken place on the health centers, which are Jenin 33, Tubas 1, Nablus 49, Bethlehem 39, Hebron 31, Jerusalem 10, Ramallah 27, and Tulkram 38. Well, Shivan, back to you.
Thanks, Reisha. Now, in a dramatic constitutional move, UN Chief Antonio Guterres wrote to the President of the UN Security Council invoking Article 99, which contained in the Chapter 15 of the UN Charter. Article 99, what is that? It's contained in Chapter 15 of the UN Charter, which states that the UN Chief may bring to attention of the Security Council any matter which, in his opinion, may threaten the maintenance of international peace and security. A UN spokesperson says that this was the first time Mr. Guterres had felt compelled to invoke Chapter 99 since taking office in 2017. Since the October 7th terror attacks by Hamas militants in southern Israel and the ongoing bombardment by Israel, the Security Council passed one resolution in mid-November after 4 failed attempts to find consensus previously.
Well, following a week-long pause in hostilities, fighting began again on December 1st Leading the Secretary General to register his deep regret, Guterres says that civilians throughout the Strip face grave danger, with over 15,000 reportedly killed, over 40% of them being children.
Of course, to get a better understanding of what is in store and what more can be expected here, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani sent us this report from New York. Listen in.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Wednesday invoked a rarely used article in the UN Charter called Article 99 to push the Security Council and the international community to call for an immediate ceasefire to the Israel-Hamas war. Article 99 basically determines that the UN chief, quote, may bring to attention of the Security Council any matter, in his opinion, that may threaten the maintenance of peace and international security. And while it's not the first time that Article 99 has been implemented, it is the first time that Antonio Guterres, in his capacity as Secretary General since 2017, has invoked this article. But the major question, and one that many journalists were trying to find the answer to during a press briefing by the spokesman of the Secretary General, is that how is this different than calls made by Guterres time and again for a ceasefire and sending more humanitarian aid to Gaza? After all, since the war broke out, the Security Council has had multiple meetings, and the Secretary General has participated in those meetings time and again, calling for the same thing, a ceasefire. So it's yet to be clear and yet to be known how the Security Council will react. The spokesman for the Secretary General said that this is important and it carries UN constitutional weight. The Israeli ambassador to the United Nations reacted to this immediately after, saying that the Secretary General is basically calling for Hamas to stay in power when calling for a ceasefire. And he criticized this decision on the part of Antonio Guterres, saying that what it does basically is put pressure on Israel as it is fighting, quote unquote, the Nazi Hamas terrorists. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Well, in other global news, Russian President Vladimir Putin arrived in Saudi Arabia on Wednesday after visiting the United Arab Emirates.
Well, this is Putin's visit in the Gulf area. Moscow is seeking to reassert itself on the global stage and bolster its influence in West Asia. It is only the third trip Putin has taken outside the former Soviet Union since Russia invaded Ukraine, following visits to Iran and China.
Well, Putin was seen greeting Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman before the two briefly sat down for televised talks. He said, and I'm quoting him here, "It is very important for all of us to exchange information and assessments with you on what is happening in the region." Take a listen.
Мы ждали вас в Москве. Знаю, что обстоятельства внесли коррективы в эти планы. Но, как я уже сказал, ничего не может помешать развитию наших дружеских отношений.
Prince Mohammed said bilateral cooperation had helped remove many tensions in West Asia and contributed to enhancing security as well.
أيضا التنسيق والعمل السياسي بين البلدين ساعد بإزالة الكثير من الاحتقانات في الشرق الأوسط.
Также благодаря политической кооперации и взаимодействию нам удалось положительно повлиять на ряд моментов на Ближнем Востоке.
وساهم في تعزيز الأمن.
И это увеличило безопасность в регионе.
والتنسيق المستقبلي في الجانب السياسي والأمني أيضا سوف يعزز أمن الشرق الأوسط وأمن العالم كله.
Well, the Kremlin said ahead of the meeting that the two would discuss oil markets as well as ways to promote de-escalation in the war in Gaza. Well, since March, Putin has been wanted for war crimes by the International Criminal Court over the invasion of Ukraine. Well, he skipped the BRICS summit in August in South Africa, which recognizes the ICC in a bid to avoid causing a political show, and missed the G20 summit in India in September as well. But neither the UAE nor Saudi Arabia have signed the ICC's founding treaty, meaning that they are not obliged to arrest him.
The Russian leader was earlier welcomed with a full cavalry escort and motorcade in the UAE, where he met President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. A national air show team drew a Russian flag with coloured fumes in the sky. Full pomp and show. The Russian president said UAE was Russia's main trading partner in the Arab world. Bilateral trade hit a record $9 billion last year, according to the Kremlin, and Putin said a number of projects were underway in the oil and gas sector as well.
Well, Putin is all set to host Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi for talks in Moscow. Well, Moscow and Tehran are strengthening economic and military ties in the face of Western sanctions, with Moscow largely adapted to sanctions thanks to the rebounding oil revenues and its military fending off a Ukrainian counteroffensive. Experts say that Putin may be sensing reviving the fortunes.
Republican senators blocked a White House request for $106 billion in emergency aid, primarily for Ukraine and Israel.
And the vote marked a major defeat for Biden, who had warned Congress earlier in the day that Putin would not stop with victory in Ukraine and could even attack a NATO nation. Take a listen.
If Putin takes Ukraine, he won't stop there. It's important to see the long run here. He's going to keep going. He's made that pretty clear. If Putin attacks a NATO ally, if he keeps going, and then he attacks a NATO ally, well, we've committed as a NATO member that we defend every inch of NATO territory.
Now, the package would include roughly $60 billion to help Ukraine keep up pressure on Russia during the frigid winter months. It would also include around $10 billion for Israel in its conflict with Hamas militants, plus some aid for Taiwan.
Chuck Schumer, the Democratic Senate leader, had committed to holding a vote later on adding that the border security measures demanded by the Republicans. But the 49-strong Republican minority in the 100-member upper chamber voted en masse against moving forward. They pointed to a lack of government action as well.
Our support will last long into the future.
Frankly, I think it's stunning that we've gotten to this point in the first place. While Congress and the Republicans in Congress are willing to give Putin the greatest gift he could hope for and abandon our global leadership, not just Ukraine, but beyond that. We've all seen the brutality that Putin has inflicted on Ukraine, invading another country, trying to subjugate his neighbors to his iron rule.
Biden was speaking after a video summit with Ukrainian President Zelensky and the leaders of G7 nations to discuss how to shore up Western aid for Kiev. Zelensky warned the leaders that Moscow was counting on Western unity to collapse next year and said that Russia had ramped up pressure on the front lines of the war.
Russia hopes only for one thing, that next year the free world's consolidation will collapse. Russia believes that America and Europe will show weakness and will not maintain support for Ukraine at the proper level. Putin believes that the free world will not fully enforce its own sanctions, and the Russian elite mocks the world's doubts about using frozen Russian assets to compensate for damage from Russian aggression.
Well, the precarious prospects for the aid package had been clear since the classified Ukraine briefing for senators saw a lot of Republicans walk out. They were angry that there was no talk of border security. Zelensky had been due to address the meeting through a video link, but cancelled at the last minute.
In the House, Speaker Mike Johnson has made clear he will not agree to sending any more money without transformative changes to border policy. The Louisiana Republican has also declared that any Israel aid needs to be offset with spending cuts, a policy Democrats, a White House and most Senate Republicans oppose this. Now, the State Department separately announced a stopgap $175 million tranche of new aid for Ukraine on Wednesday. It includes prize HIMARS rockets, shells, missiles and ammunition.
And now it's time for a quick short break.
Don't go anywhere. Of course, this is World DNA. We will be back with you for the next remainder of the show. On the other side, the director of the US FBI, Christopher Wray, will visit India next week. The planned visit comes amid a US federal investigation into an alleged plot to kill Khalistani terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu on American soil.
Also on the other side, did you know that the constant alerts you get on your phones might be leading to a privacy nightmare? The notifications you receive from tech platforms have been helping governments keep an eye on what you've been doing on your apps. This and a lot more lined up on World DNA right after this very short break. Stay tuned.
Israel woke up to a barrage of thousands of rockets fired from the Gaza Strip.
אזרחי ישראל.
Welcome back. You're watching World DNA with me, Raisha Sehgal, and Shivin Chanda. We were just talking about here on the ongoing Israel-Hamas war, where a latest report from Israel's domestic intelligence claims that they knew of a threat to the Nova Music Festival. That is where the 7th of October attack took place.
We've also looked at a major update which has come in from the US, where Republican senators have blocked a White House request for $106 billion to aid the ongoing wars in Ukraine and, of course, between Israel and Hamas. What does that mean for the two regions? Ukraine is definitely extremely perturbed because of this, because they are now seeing a future where they will not be able to contend Russia anymore if there is no US funding. We are tracking this very closely. Thank you so much for staying with us and coming right back. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of others. Let's get you started with the headlines.
FBI director expected to visit India next week. Visit comes amid controversy over alleged bid to kill Khalistani terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu on American soil.
Shooting on main campus of the University of Nevada in America's Las Vegas leaves at least 3 people dead before bloodshed ends with the suspect's own death.
Myanmar junta loses more bases and dozens more troops over past 5 days as People's Defensive Force groups and ethnic armed organizations step up attacks on regime targets across the country.
Local media reports claim Israel's domestic intelligence agency Shin Bet allegedly knew of threat to Nova Music Festival but did not inform festival organizers.
Russian President Vladimir Putin makes a one-day visit to Saudi Arabia and UAE, making a rare trip abroad as Moscow seeks to reassert itself on the global stage. And a top focus in World DNA. The director of the US FBI, Christopher Wray, will visit India next week.
Well, the planned visit comes amid a US federal investigation into an alleged plot to kill Khalistani terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu on American soil.
Well, the trip will mark Ray's first visit to India since taking charge in 2017 and the first visit by an FBI director in 12 years. Well, Washington's envoy Eric Garcetti made the announcement at the Global Technology Summit organized by think tank Carnegie India and the Ministry of External Affairs.
As per reports, Indian probe agency NIA will discuss cases and evidence against Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. Pannu is one of the founders of US-based separatist group 6 for Justice, SFJ. Few days ago, the US charged an Indian man of attempting to kill the Khalistani leader on American soil. India disassociated itself with the incident and expressed concern over being associated with the alleged plot. US State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller on Tuesday stated that Washington will wait to see the results of New Delhi's investigation.
But I also made clear that we have noted at the most senior levels of this government, the Secretary of State has raised this directly with his foreign counterpart, that we take this issue very seriously. They told us they would conduct an investigation. They have publicly announced an investigation, and now we'll wait to see the results of the investigation, but it's something we take very seriously.
All right, we move on to another important development. This one comes from India, where the lower house of the Indian Parliament passed two crucial bills.
The legislations that were brought by Union Home Minister Amit Shah are aimed at amending key laws in the Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Take a listen.
मुझे एक बात का आनंद भी है और हमारी संसदीय प्रणालिका के लिए अच्छा भी है कि किसी ने इस बिल के तत्व का विरोध नहीं किया है.
Further talking about how Jammu and Kashmir suffered from the mistakes by authorities more than 50 years ago, Amit Shah also states that the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir region, or POK, belongs to India. Listen to this.
जम्मू में पहले 37 सीटें थी, 37 सीटें थी. ये भी न्याय का सवाल है. जम्मू में पहले 37 सीटें थी, अब 43 हुई है, 43 हुई है. कश्मीर में पहले 46 थी, अब 47 हुई है. और पाक ऑक्यूपाई कश्मीर की 24 सीटें, क्योंकि वो हमारा है, हमने रिजर्व रखी है. मान्यवर 24 सीटों को. इस तरह से पहले 107 सीटें जम्मू कश्मीर विधानसभा में थी, अब 114 सीटें हुई है.
The bills make key changes in the region's legislative apparatus. First, by increasing the number of seats in the Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly from 83 to 90. 7 of these would be reserved for scheduled caste members and 9 for legislators from scheduled tribes.
The special status of the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir was scrapped in 2019. Since then, the state has been bifurcated into 2 union territories, with the UT of Jammu and Kashmir being one with a legislative assembly, and now the new bills will pave the way for the elections to be conducted soon.
Still on stories from India. Now, India to provide immediate relief assistance of over $1 million to Papua New Guinea in the wake of a volcanic eruption.
The Ministry of External Affairs of India has said that India extended deep sympathy to the government and the people of Papua New Guinea.
Well, a major volcanic eruption of Mount WION, situated in the South Pacific nation's most active volcano in Papua New Guinea, erupted on 20th of November, spewing ash as high as 15 kilometers. It has led to the evacuation of more than 26,000 people and has also created urgent humanitarian needs in that region.
New Delhi has firmly stood by PNG, Papua New Guinea, during times of crisis and devastation caused by natural disasters, including the earthquake in 2018 and volcanic eruption in 2019.
Well, Papua New Guinea is on the Pacific Ring of Fire, which is a horseshoe-shaped band of volcanoes and fault lines circling the edges of the Pacific Ocean. Well, the Ring of Fire is a tectonic belt which is about 40,000 kilometers long and up to around 500 kilometers wide. It contains over 800 volcanoes.
Hear the rumbling of the mountain.
A big update coming in from China. China has started commercial operations at a new fourth-generation nuclear reactor.
And this is the first of its kind in the world. Well, the Chinese state media said that the high-temperature gas-cooled reactor went online following a week-long continuous operation test.
The reactor at the Shidawan plant in China's eastern Shandong province is part of a global push for safer, more sustainable and efficient nuclear operations. The plant is powered by two high-temperature reactors cooled by gas rather than pressurized water, making it more efficient and cost-effective. Conventional reactors produce electricity from nuclear energy. However, these advanced models, known as small modular reactors or SMRs, can be used for other applications that include heating, desalination or steam for industrial needs.
And this comes against a backdrop of tensions with Western countries, while China is seeking to free itself from coal-fired power plants and reduce its dependence on foreign technologies. And construction of the plant began in 2012, and the first SMR was connected to the power grid in 2021.
According to proponents, multi-use SMRs could play a central role in decarbonization and energy transition, thanks to their compact and simplified architecture, which reduces costs and construction time. According to the International Atomic Energy Agency, more than 80 SMR projects are currently under development in 18 countries.
Well, Shivin, there is a change of guard at the BBC. Indian origin Sameer Shah will be the next chairman of the UK state broadcaster.
Well, his appointment comes after his predecessor Richard Sharp quit in April over a loan to then Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Shah's appointment, which will almost certainly be ratified by a parliament committee, comes when the BBC is facing increased funding pressures. The media giant is currently looking to save $627 million and recently announced cutbacks to its flagship Newsnight show. 71-year-old Shah has worked in television for over 40 years, holding a number of roles at the BBC, including as head of current affairs. As the new chairman, he has his task cut out for him. He would need to negotiate an increase in the license fee, which is where the BBC gets most of its funding from. But reports suggest that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak plans to block a 9% increase in the annual fee, which stands at $200 per household. All right, staying with our business updates, the crackdown on illegal financing in the crypto world continues in the United States.
And the latest crypto founder to face legal action is Anatoly Ligodimkov. He is the Russian co-founder of crypto exchange BitZlato.
Ligodimov, the co-founder of the Hong Kong registered crypto exchange, has pleaded guilty to a criminal charge and agreed to forfeit $23 million in a deal with federal prosecutors. U.S. authorities have accused the Russian national of processing about $700 million in illicit funds through the crypto exchange. BitZlato's co-founder has entered the guilty plea to one count of operating a money transmitting business that transported and transmitted illicit funds. Legodimov, who ran Bitslato from the Chinese city of Shenzhen, said in court that he was aware of some clients using the platform to transfer cryptocurrency derived from illicit activity. He acknowledged that ransomware proceeds from Hydra Market, an online marketplace used for drugs, stolen financial information and money laundering, which made their way to the crypto platform.
41-year-old Lech Domikov, who was arrested on January 17th, faces up to 5 years in prison when the judge imprisoned him. Well, no imprisonment date was set as of yet. His guilty plea is yet another victory for the US agencies, which have been trying to bring crypto assets into the regulatory ambit. Well, Shivan, I have a question for you. Do you get these constant alerts on your phone throughout the day?
Well, it is a setting which I've always kept on. It does not get me any of these notifications, but I think there is a larger concern here because these constant alerts that you get on your phones might be leading to a privacy nightmare.
Absolutely. Notifications you receive from tech platforms have been helping governments keep an eye on what you've been doing on your apps.
Now, there are big privacy concerns here for Google and Apple users. So if you use a Google device or an Apple device, here's something that you must take note of, because governments might have been spying on Google and Apple users through notifications. According to US Senator Ron Wyden, both foreign and US government agencies have been asking Apple and Google for data related to notifications to keep tabs on smartphone users. The government can use the information for tasks like tracking anonymous users of messaging apps to specific Apple or Google accounts. So how do the companies get your data just through notifications? Reisha, take them to it.
Yes, Shivin, that's the big question here. Well, the alerts you get on your phone, such as a text message from a friend or a notification telling you your favorite football team won a game, go through Google and Apple servers. This gives these companies a special view of app-related information. And this in turn helps the governments watch how people have been using specific apps.
Now, Apple responded to the update saying that the federal government prohibited us from sharing any information. Now that this method has become public, we are updating our transparency report to detail these kinds of requests. That's, of course, a quote-unquote from Apple.
And Apple further added that they will share more details about how the governments have checked push notifications now that the Senator Wyden has made the information public. Senator Wyden has also asked the US Department of Justice to change any rules limiting talk about this kind of spying on the users.
All right, let's get you a flavor of what's happening in the world of sport next. Sport has a habit of throwing up inspiring stories of hope, grit, determination, and unbelievable resistance.
And one such story is that of archer Sheetal Devi. She's an armless archer. Yes, you heard that right. And she made history at the Para-Asian Games by winning gold medal in Hangzhou. Well, WION's Nikita Singh uncovered her journey from a small village in Jammu and Kashmir to worldwide acclaim at the age of just 16. Take a look.
Sheetal Devi was born in Lodihar village in Jammu and Kashmir, but with a rare condition called phocomelia, under which limbs remain undeveloped. It results in unusually short or flipper-like limbs. With such a condition, no one would even dream about pursuing archery, but Sheetal Devi is one in a billion. Sheetal adopted a technique which modified the releaser into a shoulder releaser, thereby forming a string mechanism for a chin to pull the trigger and release the arrow.
मैंने प्रैक्टिस की तब जाके बो उठने लगा. मेरा निशाना नहीं लगता था तो मुझे बुरा लगता था कि मेरा निशाना नहीं लगता. तो मैं सर को कहती थी, सर मेरा निशाना नहीं लग रहा है. कहने लगा कि हो जाएगा आराम आराम से, जल्दी जल्दी नहीं बनते और जल्दी जल्दी निशाना नहीं लगता, इसके लिए मेहनत चाहिए. तो फिर मैंने मेहनत की तब जाके आज मैं यहाँ तक पहुँची हूँ.
After making her name at national events, Sheetal made history by winning the gold medal at the Asian Para Games in the individual compound event. But that wasn't all. She also won gold in the mixed team event and a silver as well.
मुझे प्रेशर नहीं था कि मुझे गोल्ड ही जीतने हैं. मैं जब यहाँ से गई थी ये सोच के नहीं गई थी मुझे सिर्फ मेडल लाने हैं. ये सोच रही थी कि मुझे बेस्ट करना है. जब बेस्ट करेंगे हम तो अपने आप मेडल आ जाएंगे हमारे पास. तो वैसे सर ने भी बताया था कि अपना बेस्ट करना है. जैसे कि हमें सर ने बताया था कि कैसे कैसे शॉट मारने हैं तो वैसे हमने मारे वहाँ पे. तब जाके हमें मेडल आए.
At the age of just 16, Sheetal has the world at her feet. She's already the world's #1 para-archer. But this is just the beginning of her journey. Sheetal is now going for gold at the Paris Paralympics next year.
She's putting our flag on the world map, and this is very proud for me. But definitely I would say, like, she's a true example that we are not handicapped, like, due to the physical challenges. We are handicapped by what we think we cannot do.
Sheetal's story is a testament to her remarkable spirit and validates the age-old saying, where there is a will, there is a way. With Nikita Singh, this is Vidur Kathuria for WION World is One.
All right, and after sports, it's over to entertainment. Alison Lagrange takes it away. Here's to her.
Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange coming to you from Durban, South Africa. First up, let's get you the big stories from the world of entertainment.
Priyanka Chopra is the latest actor to fall victim to deepfake technology. In the video that has been created using artificial intelligence, the actor's line has been edited and replaced with ones that promote the brand. Chopra is also seen divulging her yearly income in the video. This video comes in the midst of all the conversations that the Indian government is currently conducting to tackle the sudden rise of disturbing deepfake videos. Members of SAG-AFTRA Actors Union approved a 3-year contract with major studios, formally ending 6 months of Hollywood labor disputes that halted film and television production. SAG-AFTRA said that 78% of those who voted supported the deal with Netflix, Walt Disney and other members of the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. The agreement provides for pay raises, streaming bonuses and guardrails around the use of artificial intelligence in filmmaking. Denny Lane, the longtime collaborator of Paul McCartney and co-founder of bands Wings and the Moody Blues, has died at the age of 79. His wife revealed that Lane had been hospitalized for a week before his death. He was suffering from lung disease. The musician was one of the pillars of Wings, a band he founded alongside Paul and Linda McCartney in 1971. Prior to joining Wings, Lane founded the Moody Blues in 1964, with whom he played until 1965.
The cast and the makers of the 6th and final season of Netflix's royal drama The Crown came together in London to bid farewell to the series. More details about the premiere in our next report.
Everybody to the right,
Mixed emotions. On the one hand, you know, it's been a lot of work, so I'm tired. But on the other hand, it's been, you know, it's been a family that's grown, you know, that I've lived with now and worked with for 10 years. So, and I've really enjoyed it, and I've loved how the show has gone down around the world. So, as an artist, you miss that, you know.
Well, you know what happens. He gets married. He gets married, and you see a lot of emphasis on William and Harry and the younger generation coming up, so that the crown is seen as you see the next people who are going to wear it coming up, and that should be really interesting.
Yeah, and enormous. It's enormous for me, and it was
it was so challenging and so frightening. So it wasn't like, oh yeah. It was really difficult and therefore really rewarding.
You are going to cry. You're going to cry, but not tears of sort of searing tragedy, but just Peter Morgan, he would say he's a sort of shrewd political animal, but he's like a tear jerker. He is jerking your tears into action. Be prepared to cry. Bring the tissues.
I can't wait to watch the final part of The Crown. Well, that's all from me for today. For now, it's back to our New Delhi studio.
All right, that's a wrap on this edition of World DNA. Always a pleasure to bring you all the updates that get you ahead of others.
Stay tuned. You're watching WION World is One.
Israel woke up